Dr. Amanda Brooks wiped sweat from her forehead as she watched the drilling machine work. The metal beast dug deeper into the rocky ground of Kepler 442c, throwing up clouds of red dust. She had been on this dead planet for 3 weeks now, looking for any signs of old life. So far, they had found nothing but rocks and more rocks. The planet looked like Mars, but bigger. No air to breathe, no water, no plants. Just endless red dirt under a pale yellow sun. Amanda wondered why Earth Command wanted them to waste time here when there were so many better worlds to explore. "Dr. Brooks, you need to see this," called out Pete Wilson, the head of the drilling team. His voice sounded strange through the radio, like he had seen something scary. Amanda walked over to where Pete stood next to the drilling machine. The big metal arm had stopped moving. Red lights flashed on the control panel. "What's wrong?" Amanda asked. Pete pointed at the screen. "The drill hit something hard at 3,000 meters down. Look at this reading." Amanda looked at the numbers on the screen. Her eyes went wide. The drill had hit metal, but not just any metal. The computer showed it was made of materials that did not exist in nature, materials that humans had never seen before. "That can't be right," Amanda said. "Run the test again." Pete pressed some buttons. The same numbers came back. Deep under the ground, something made of impossible metal was waiting. Amanda grabbed her radio. "Captain Morrison, this is Dr. Brooks. We have a problem down here." Captain Jake Morrison's voice came back fast. "What kind of problem?" "The kind that might change everything we know about this planet." 20 minutes later, Jake Morrison stood next to the drilling site with his arms crossed. He was a big man with gray hair and tired eyes. He had been flying ships between the stars for 15 years and nothing surprised him anymore, but the numbers on Pete's screen made him frown. "You're telling me there's a metal structure 3 kilometers under the ground?" Jake asked. "That's what the drill says," Amanda replied. "And it's big, Captain. Really big." Jake looked at the empty, red landscape around them. "How big?" Amanda pulled out her tablet and showed him a map. Red dots marked where they had found the metal. The dots went on for hundreds of kilometers in every direction. "It's not just big," Amanda said quietly. "It's huge, maybe as big as this whole continent." Jake stared at the map. In his 15 years of space travel, he had seen strange things, floating cities, crystal forests, even a planet made entirely of diamonds, but he had never seen anything like this. "Lisa, get over here," Jake called to his tactical officer. Lieutenant Commander Lisa Hayes jogged over to them. She was young and smart, with short black hair and quick eyes that missed nothing. Jake trusted her more than anyone else on his ship. "What do you need, Captain?" Lisa asked. "I want you to run a full scan of this area. Use everything we have. I want to know what's down there." Lisa nodded and pulled out her scanner. The device looked like a small gun, but instead of bullets, it shot invisible waves deep into the ground. She pointed it down and pressed the trigger. The scanner made soft beeping sounds for a few minutes. Then it made a loud alarm sound that made everyone jump. "That's not good," Lisa said, looking at her screen. "What is it?" Jake asked. Lisa's face had gone pale. "Captain, this isn't just a metal structure, it's a ship." "A ship?" Amanda asked. "What kind of ship?" "A warship," Lisa said. Her voice was barely a whisper. "The biggest warship I've ever seen. It has weapon systems, armor plating, and what looks like thousands of rooms inside." Jake felt a cold feeling in his stomach. "How do you know it's a warship?" Lisa showed them her screen. Lines and shapes showed the outline of something that looked like a giant submarine, but pointed at both ends like a knife. Gun turrets the size of buildings stuck out from its sides. Armor plating thicker than city walls covered its hull. "It's not just any warship," Lisa continued. "It's designed to fight other ships in space, but it's been buried here for a very long time." Amanda grabbed the scanner and looked at the readings herself. "How long?" Lisa checked her computer. "Based on the soil layers above it, I'd say at least 50,000 years, maybe more." Everyone stood quiet for a moment. The wind blew red dust around their feet. Somewhere far above, their ship waited in orbit. And deep below, something impossible slept in the dark. "There's something else," Lisa said. "The ship isn't empty. There are rooms inside that look like they were made for people. Human-sized people. Jake felt his blood turn cold. That's impossible. Humans didn't exist 50,000 years ago, not like we do now. I know, Lisa said. But the scans don't lie. Someone built this ship, and they were the same size as us. Amanda looked at the endless red horizon. Captain, if there's one ship here, there might be more. We should check other dig sites. Jake nodded. Lisa, contact the other teams. I want scans of every drilling site we've set up, and send a message to Earth Command. They need to know about this. What should I tell them? Lisa asked. Jake looked down at the ground under his feet. Somewhere in the darkness below, a ship longer than most cities waited in silence. A ship built by people who looked like humans but lived when humans were supposed to be nothing more than cave dwellers on a distant world. Tell them we found something that shouldn't exist, Jake said. And tell them to send more ships. A lot more ships. As the sun set over the red planet, the team packed their equipment. But Amanda couldn't stop looking at the ground. What other secrets were buried in the dark? And why did the ship's design look so familiar, like something from a half-remembered dream? Above them, stars began to appear in the black sky. Soon, those same stars would carry news of their discovery to every corner of human space. And then to the aliens who watched human expansion with growing worry. None of them knew that. Their simple drilling project had just changed the balance of power in the galaxy forever. Kyle Thompson stared at the hole they had cut into the ship's side. The metal was black and smooth, like a mirror made of night. His cutting tools had taken 6 hours to make an opening big enough for a person to crawl through. The metal was harder than anything he had ever seen. Are you sure this is safe? Asked Dr. Amanda Brooks. She stood next to Kyle, looking at the dark opening. Kyle checked his air tank and helmet lights. As safe as walking into a 50,000-year-old alien warship can be, I guess. It's not alien, Amanda said quietly. That's what scares me. Kyle knew what she meant. The ship's design looked human. Not exactly like human ships, but close. Enough to make everyone nervous. The doors were the right size, the hallways were the right width. Even the writing on the walls looked almost familiar. Captain Jake Morrison's voice came through their radios. You have 2 hours down there. If anything goes wrong, get out fast. Kyle took a deep breath and crawled through the hole. His helmet. Lights cut through the darkness inside. The air was cold and still. Nothing had moved in this place for thousands of years. Amanda followed him inside. Her lights joined his, pushing back more of the dark. They were standing in a long hallway with walls made of the same black metal. Doors lined both sides, stretching away into darkness. Look at this, Amanda whispered. She was pointing at symbols, carved into the wall next to them. The symbols looked like letters, but not quite. They were close to human writing, but different enough to be confusing. Kyle took pictures with his camera. Can you read any of it? Amanda studied the symbols carefully. Some of it looks familiar. This symbol here might mean danger. And this one could be authorized personnel only. They walked deeper into the ship. Their boots made soft echoing sounds on the metal floor. Every few steps, Amanda stopped to take pictures of more symbols on the walls. After 10 minutes of walking, they found something that made them both stop and stare. The hallway opened into a huge room filled with long white boxes. Thousands of them, arranged in neat rows that went on as far as their lights could reach. What are those? Kyle asked. Amanda walked up to the nearest box and brushed dust off the top. There was a small window made of clear material. She pointed her light through it and gasped, Kyle, come look at this. Kyle joined her at the box. Inside, he could see the shape of a person. A human person lying still with eyes closed. The person looked like they were sleeping, but their skin was pale and cold. Is he dead? Kyle asked. Amanda checked a small screen on the side of the box. Numbers glowed softly in the dark. I don't think so. I think this is some kind of sleeping chamber. And according to this screen, whoever is inside is still alive. They moved from box to box, checking each one. Every box held a person. Men, women young and old. All of them looked human. All of them were still alive but sleeping. There are thousands of them, Kyle said. his voice full of wonder and fear. Amanda was taking readings with her scanner. Kyle, these people have human DNA. They're not aliens who look like humans. They are humans. Kyle felt dizzy. That's impossible. Humans didn't live 50,000 years ago. I know, Amanda said. But the evidence doesn't lie. They kept exploring. The ship was huge inside, with hallways that seemed to go on forever. They found rooms full of weapons, rooms full of computers, and rooms full of machines they couldn't understand. In one room, Amanda found something that made her hands shake. It was a wall covered with star maps. But these weren't maps of space, as humans knew it today. These maps showed the galaxy as it looked long ago, with lines connecting hundreds of star systems. Kyle, look at this, Amanda called. Kyle joined her at the wall. The maps were beautiful, drawn with glowing lines that still worked after all these years. At the center of the map was Earth's solar system. Lines spread out from Earth to dozens of other stars. This looks like a trade network, Kyle said, or maybe military routes. Amanda pointed to symbols next to each star system. These symbols here, they're the same ones we saw by the sleeping chambers. I think they mean human territory. Kyle counted the connected star systems. There are hundreds of them. If this map is real, then humans once controlled half the galaxy. They took pictures of everything and kept exploring. In another room, they found computers that still worked. When Amanda touched one of the screens, it lit up with symbols and pictures. It's responding to human touch, Amanda said. Like it was designed for us. The computer showed more maps, but also pictures of space battles, huge ships fighting among the stars, cities floating in space, worlds covered with human settlements. This is a history, Amanda realized. A history of human civilization from 50,000 years ago. Kyle looked at a picture of Earth surrounded by massive space stations. We weren't primitive cave dwellers, we ruled the galaxy. Amanda found more files on the computer, pictures of humans in strange uniforms, standing on the bridges of warships, pictures of alien species bowing to human leaders, pictures of human cities on 100 different worlds. What happened to them? Kyle asked. Where did they all go? Amanda kept searching through the files. Finally, she found something that made her blood run cold. Pictures of space filled with darkness. Pictures of entire star systems going dark. Pictures of ships fleeing from something terrible. There was a war, Amanda said quietly. A war against something from outside the galaxy. Something that ate stars. The pictures showed the final battle. Human ships gathering at the edge of the galaxy, facing an enemy made of living darkness. The last picture showed a weapon being fired. A weapon that created a wave of light across the galaxy. They won, Kyle said, but at a terrible cost. Amanda read the final files. The weapon destroyed the enemy, but it also destroyed human civilization. The survivors scattered to primitive worlds and forgot who they were. The ships were buried to keep them safe until humanity was ready to remember. Kyle felt cold despite his heated suit. Ready for what? Before Amanda could answer, alarms started ringing throughout the ship. Red lights began flashing on the walls. The computer screen changed to show a warning message in symbols that somehow seemed familiar. What's happening? Kyle asked. Amanda read the symbols as best she could. It says emergency activation protocols engaged, external threat detected, awakening defensive systems. The ship around them began to hum with power. Lights came on in the hallways. The sound of machinery filled the air as systems that had slept for 50,000 years began to wake up. Kyle grabbed Amanda's arm. We need to get out of here, now. They ran back through the hallways as the ship came alive around them. Behind them, the sleeping chambers began to glow. The thousands of humans inside started to move, beginning to wake up from their long sleep. They crawled out through the hole they had cut. Kyle looked back at the ship. Lights now glowed through the ground above it. The entire planet was beginning to change as the ancient warship prepared for battle once again. Amanda, Kyle said as they reached the surface. If this ship is waking up, what woke it up? Amanda looked up at the stars, thinking about the computer files they had seen. I think something is coming. Something that was supposed to stay dead. Above them, Captain Morrison's ship detected energy readings unlike anything they had ever seen. The buried warship was not just waking up, it was getting ready to fight. Ambassador Helen Carter sat in the emergency meeting room on the space station above New Denver Colony. Around the long table sat leaders from 12 different alien species. Their faces showed fear, anger, and worry. None of them looked happy. "The humans must be stopped," said Admiral Vextar of the Korathan Empire. His blue skin was darker than usual, which meant he was very angry. "They have hidden weapons that could destroy us all." Helen kept her voice calm and steady. "We didn't hide anything. We didn't even know these ships existed until 3 days ago." "Lies," hissed Commander Zala of the Serpent Worlds. Her snake-like head swayed as she spoke. "No species could forget such power. You planned this." Helen looked around the table at faces she had once called friends. For 10 years she had worked to build trust between humans and aliens. Now all of that trust was falling apart. "Please listen to me," Helen said. "Our scientists believed these ships were buried by our ancestors 50,000 years ago. We had no knowledge of them. Your ancestors ruled half the galaxy," said High Chancellor Morn of the Crystal Federation. His rock-like body glowed red with anger. "Now you expect us to believe you forgot?" Helen tried to explain, but the alien leaders would not listen. Fear had made them deaf to reason. In the past 3 days, every major alien government had started moving their war fleets toward human space. Captain Jake Morrison's voice came through Helen's earpiece. "Ambassador, we have a problem. Korathan ships are surrounding our position." Helen's blood went cold. She looked at Admiral Vextar. "You promised this was just a meeting." "It was," Vextar said with a cruel smile. "Now it is something else." Through the station's windows, Helen could see Korathan warships moving into attack position around Kepler 442c. Their dark hulls blocked out the stars. There were dozens of them, enough to destroy any human ship. "You're making a terrible mistake," Helen warned. "If you attack us, you'll only prove that we need these ancient weapons." "We will not give you the chance to use them," Vextar said. He stood up from the table. "The human threat ends today." Far below on the planet's surface, Dr. Amanda Brooks felt the ship shake around her. She was still inside the ancient vessel, studying the computer systems that had awakened. Kyle Thompson worked beside her, trying to understand the weapon controls. "Amanda, those alien ships are powering up their guns," Kyle said, looking at the ship's sensors. "They're going to attack Captain Morrison." Amanda's hands moved over the ancient controls. The symbols on the screens were becoming clearer to her, as if her mind was remembering something it had forgotten. "I think I can activate the ship's defenses." "Are you sure that's a good idea?" Kyle asked. "We don't know how powerful these weapons are." Amanda looked at the sensor screen showing Korathan ships surrounding their friends. "We're about to find out." She pressed her hand against a large red symbol on the control panel. The ship responded immediately. Deep underground, machines that had slept for 50,000 years roared to life. On the planet's surface, the ground began to crack open. Massive gun turrets rose up from the earth, each one the size of a building. They turned toward the sky, like metal flowers following the sun. Captain Morrison watched in amazement from the bridge of his ship. "What is that?" Lieutenant Commander Lisa Hayes checked her instruments. "Sir, those are defensive weapons, and they're targeting the Korathan fleet." Admiral Vextar saw the guns rising from the planet below. His confident smile disappeared. "All ships, open fire now." The Korathan fleet attacked with everything they had. Hundreds of energy beams struck down at the planet and at Morrison's ship. But the ancient weapons were ready. Energy shields appeared around Morrison's ship, protecting it from the alien attack. The shields were stronger than anything humans had ever built. Korathan weapons that could destroy cities barely made the shields flicker. Then the planet's weapons fired back. The gun turret shot beams of pure energy into space. But these were not normal weapons. Each beam was as wide as a building and brighter than a star. When they hit the Korathan ships, the alien vessels simply disappeared. "Impossible," whispered Admiral Vexistar as he watched his mighty fleet being destroyed. Ships that had taken decades to build were erased in seconds. In minutes, the entire Korathan attack force was gone. Where dozens of warships had been, now, there was only empty space and glowing particles. Morrison stared at his screens in shock. Lisa, did those weapons just destroy an entire fleet? Yes, sir, Lisa replied, her voice quiet with amazement. And according to my readings, the planet's weapons are still warming up. That wasn't even full power. But the awakening didn't stop at Kepler 442c. Across human space, buried ships on dozens of worlds began responding to the activation signal. Colony worlds that had been defenseless suddenly found themselves protected by emerging weapon systems. On Mars, Lieutenant Colonel Brad Johnson watched ancient platforms rise from the red planet's surface. The platforms were covered with weapons that pointed toward space, ready to defend Earth's neighbor world. Command, this is Mars Base, Brad reported. We have multiple defensive systems coming online. Systems we never knew existed. On Earth itself, the ocean began to bubble and churn. Massive structures broke the surface near every major city. They looked like underwater mountains, but their surfaces were covered with weapon ports and shield generators. General Susan Parker stood in the Pentagon War Room, watching reports come in from around the world. How many of these defense systems are there? We're still counting, replied her aide, but it looks like every human world has them. Earth alone has over 100 platforms. The news spread quickly through alien space. Within hours, every alien government knew that humanity now possessed the most powerful military force in the galaxy, weapons that could destroy entire fleets, shields that could protect whole planets, technology that made current alien weapons look like toys. Fear spread faster than the news. Species that had been enemies for centuries suddenly began talking about working together. Their common fear of human power was stronger than their old hatreds. Commander Zala of the Serpent Worlds called an emergency meeting of the non-human alliance. The humans have shown their true nature. They are the ancient conquerors returned. High Chancellor Morn agreed. My people remember the old stories. Humans once ruled us all. Now they have the power to do it again. But not all aliens were ready to fight. Some remembered that humans had been good allies before this crisis. They wondered if fear was making everyone act foolishly. On the trading station at Alpha Centauri, alien merchants watched human ships pass by. The human vessels now moved with confidence, knowing they were protected by ancient weapons. But the humans aboard those ships looked worried, not proud. Captain Morrison brought his ship back to Earth to report what had happened. As he approached the homeworld, he saw the new defense platforms floating in the oceans and orbiting in space. It's beautiful and terrifying at the same time, Lisa Hayes said, looking at Earth's new defenses. Morrison nodded. We went from being one of many species to being the strongest power in the galaxy in a single day. That kind of change scares people. Amanda Brooks and Kyle Thompson returned to Earth with their research data. They had learned much about the ancient human empire, but they had also found something disturbing. The computer records hinted that the old enemy might not be completely dead. The weapon that ended the war 50,000 years ago, Amanda explained to the Earth Council. It didn't destroy the enemy, it just pushed them back into dark space. General Parker leaned forward. Are you saying they might come back? I'm saying they might already be coming back, Amanda replied. The activation of our defense systems wasn't random. Something triggered them. Something the ancient computers recognized as a threat. As if to prove her point, long-range sensors at the edge of human space began detecting strange signals. Signals from the darkness between galaxies. Signals that were moving closer to their galaxy every day. The galaxy was about to face its greatest test. But first, humans and aliens would have to decide if they could trust each other enough to fight together. Fear had divided them. Now an ancient enemy was bringing them a choice: unite or face extinction alone. Dr. Amanda Brooks stood before the massive central computer deep inside the ancient warship. The machine was as tall as a building and covered with glowing symbols. After days of work, she had finally learned how to read the old human language. What she found in the computer's memory made her hand shake. "Kyle, you need to see this," Amanda called to her partner. Kyle Thompson hurried over to the glowing screen. "What did you find?" Amanda pointed to images flowing across the display. "The truth about our ancestors. They weren't conquerors, Kyle. They were protectors." The images showed the ancient human empire at its height. Humans lived on thousands of worlds, but they shared space with hundreds of alien species. The pictures showed humans and aliens working together, building cities side by side, exploring space as partners. "Look at this," Amanda said, touching another part of the screen. New images appeared. Human ships arriving at worlds where alien species were fighting wars. Instead of taking sides, the humans stopped the fighting and helped both sides make peace. Human teachers showed young aliens how to build better technology. Human doctors treated sick aliens with medicines from 100 different worlds. They were like galactic peacekeepers, Kyle said in wonder. Amanda nodded. The empire wasn't built on conquest. It was built on cooperation. Our ancestors used their advanced technology to help younger species grow and learn. The computer showed more memories. Alien leaders coming to human worlds not as conquered subjects but as friends seeking advice. Human scientists sharing their discoveries freely with any species that wanted to learn. Human soldiers protecting alien colonies from pirates and invaders. Then what happened? Kyle asked. Why did it all end? Amanda searched deeper into the computer's memory. What she found made her step back in fear. Something came from outside the galaxy. Something that ate entire star systems. The images changed to show space filled with darkness. Not the normal darkness between stars, but something alive and hungry. Wherever this darkness touched, planets disappeared. Stars went out. Entire civilizations vanished without a trace. The ancient enemy, Amanda whispered. The computer showed the war that followed. Human fleets gathered at the galaxy's edge to face the invading darkness. But their weapons could barely hurt the enemy. Normal energy blasts and missiles passed right through the dark creatures like they were made of shadow. Captain Jake Morrison entered the computer room just as the most important images began to play. Amanda, we're getting reports from other dig sites. Every buried ship in human space is waking up. Amanda turned to him with fear in her eyes. Captain, our ancestors didn't just fight this enemy before. They found a way to beat it. But the cost was everything they had built. The computer showed the final battle. Thousands of human ships surrounded a weapon unlike anything Kyle had ever seen. It looked like a star made of metal and crystal, floating in space between two galaxies. What is that thing? Morrison asked. Amanda read the symbols beneath the image. They called it the Galaxy Heart. It was designed to send a wave of energy through every star system, every planet, every living thing in the galaxy. The images showed what happened next. The weapon fired, creating a wall of light that swept across the galaxy faster than anything could travel. When the light touched the dark invaders, they screamed and fled back into the empty space between galaxies. It worked, Kyle said. They won. But look at the cost, Amanda said sadly. The final images showed the aftermath. The weapon had saved the galaxy, but using it required the life energy of every human in the Empire. Billions of people fell into deep sleep as their strength was drained to power the weapon. Cities went dark. Ships drifted empty through space. The survivors gathered on a few primitive worlds, Amanda read from the computer files. They erased their own memories to protect the galaxy from the knowledge of what had happened. If future generations knew about the Galaxy Heart, they might be tempted to use it for conquest instead of protection. Morrison felt cold despite the warm air in the computer room. So they chose to forget everything. Their technology, their empire, their history. They wanted their children to grow up free from the burden of so much power, Amanda said. They buried the ships and the weapons, hoping that by the time humanity was ready to remember, they would be wise enough to use the power correctly. A new alarm started ringing throughout the ship. The computer screen changed to show a star map of the galaxy. Red dots were appearing at the edge of the map, moving slowly toward the center. "What are those red dots?" Kyle asked. Before Amanda could answer, a new voice filled the room. It was a woman's voice, speaking in the old human language. But somehow, everyone could understand it. "I am Admiral Diana Foster, last commander of the Human Guardian Fleet. If you are hearing this message, then the ancient enemy has returned." A figure appeared in the air above them. It was made of light but looked like a real person. She wore a uniform covered with symbols of rank and honor. Her face was kind but tired, like someone who had fought too many battles. "The emergency. Protocols have awakened me from data storage," Admiral Foster continued. "The sensors have detected the return of the Shadow Eaters from dark space." Morrison stepped forward. "Admiral, I'm Captain Jake Morrison of the Earth Colonial Fleet. How long have you been stored here?" The light figure turned to look at him. 50,000 years, Captain. I volunteered to remain conscious in the computer system to guide humanity when this day came." "The Shadow Eaters," Amanda said. "That's what you called the enemy." Admiral Foster nodded. "Creatures from the void between galaxies. They feed on the life energy of entire worlds. 50,000 years ago we drove them back, but we knew they would return when they grew strong enough." Kyle pointed at the red dots on the star map. "Are those them?" "They're advanced scouts," Foster replied. "Testing our defenses. The main fleet is still gathering in dark space, but they will come soon." Morrison felt the weight of command on his shoulders. "What do we do? How do we fight them?" "The same way we fought them before," Foster said. "We unite every species in the galaxy and channel their combined life energy through the Galaxy Heart weapon. But this time, we must do it willingly, with full knowledge of the cost." Amanda understood immediately. "The alien species have to trust us completely. They have to link their minds and their life energy to our ancient weapon system." "Exactly," Foster said. "But first you must convince them that the threat is real. Many species will think this is a human trick to gain control over them." Morrison laughed bitterly. "Half the galaxy is already preparing to attack us because they're afraid of our ancient weapons. Now we have to ask them to trust us with their lives." "The choice is simple," Foster said. "Trust us, or watch their worlds be consumed by creatures that turn living planets into empty husks." The computer screen showed new readings from the galaxy's edge. The red dots were moving faster now, and there were more of them. Long-range sensors were detecting massive structures in the darkness, between galaxies, structures the size of moons heading toward their galaxy. "How long do we have?" Amanda asked. Admiral Foster checked the readings. "Based on their current speed, the main Shadow Eater fleet will reach the outer colonies in 6 months. We have that long to unite the galaxy or watch it die." Kyle looked at the star map showing thousands of worlds, billions of people, hundreds of different species. "How do we convince them all to work together when they can barely trust each other?" Foster's light figure began to fade as the computer conserved power. "You start with the truth, Captain Morrison. Show them what happened to the Rigelian system." "What happened to Rigelian?" Morrison asked, but Foster's image was already gone. The computer screen changed to show live sensor feeds from the galaxy's edge. Where the Rigelian star system used to be, there was nothing but empty space. 3 planets with billions of people had simply disappeared. No debris, no energy signatures, nothing. "They're not just back," Amanda whispered. "They're already here." Above them, emergency signals began broadcasting to every human ship and colony. The ancient enemy had returned, and the galaxy had 6 months to choose between unity and extinction. Ambassador Helen Carter stood in the Great Hall on Earth, facing leaders from every species in the galaxy. The room was filled with creatures of all shapes and sizes. Some had fur, others had scales. Some breathed air, others needed special suits. But all of them had the same look of fear in their eyes. "The Rigelian system is gone," Helen said, her voice carrying to every corner of the room. 3 billion people simply disappeared. No wreckage, no survivors, nothing. Admiral Vextar of the Corothan Empire stood up. His blue skin was pale with shock. "My scouts confirm it. Where Rigel used to shine, there is only empty space. Commander Zala of the Serpent Worlds hissed softly. What could destroy an entire star system? Helen activated the wall display behind her. Images appeared showing dark shapes moving through space. The shapes were huge, bigger than planets, and they seemed to eat light itself. These are the Shadow Eaters, Helen explained. 50,000 years ago, they invaded our galaxy. The ancient humans drove them back, but now they have returned. High Chancellor Morn of the Crystal Federation's rocky body glowed with worry. Why should we believe this is not a human trick to make us surrender? Before Helen could answer, the room's emergency alarms began ringing. A new voice filled the hall. Admiral Diana Foster's holographic form appeared in the center of the room. Because 3 more star systems just went dark, Foster said grimly. The Shadow Eaters are not waiting. They are attacking now. The alien leaders looked around in confusion and fear. Most had never seen a human hologram that looked 50,000 years old. I am the last admiral of the ancient human fleet, Foster continued. I have watched over the galaxy's defenses while your species grew and prospered. Now I must ask you to trust the descendants of those who once protected you. On the display wall, more red dots appeared on the galaxy map. Star systems were vanishing, one by one as the Shadow Eaters moved inward toward populated space. Captain Jake Morrison entered the hall with urgent news. Admiral Foster, our long-range sensors show the main enemy fleet. It's massive. Thousands of world-sized creatures heading straight for the core systems. Dr. Amanda Brooks hurried to Foster's side with her tablet. I've been studying the ancient records. The Galaxy Heart weapon is still intact, hidden in the space between our galaxy and the next. But activating it requires the willing participation of every intelligent species. Foster nodded. The weapon channels the life energy of all thinking beings through the human genetic template. Our ancestors built us to be conductors for this energy, but we cannot do it alone. Admiral Vextar stepped forward. What exactly are you asking us to do? Link your minds to our ancient network, Foster explained. Allow your life energy to flow through human consciousness to power the weapon. It will not kill you, but you will feel weak for many days afterward. Commander Zala's snake-like head swayed with suspicion. And what stops humans from using this connection to control our minds? Amanda spoke up. Because the process works both ways. When we link together, humans will feel what you feel. We will share your thoughts and emotions. If we tried to hurt you, we would hurt ourselves. The alien leaders talked quietly among themselves in dozens of different languages. Outside the hall, reports came in of more systems going dark. The Shadow Eaters were moving faster than expected. High Chancellor Morn spoke for his people. The Crystal Federation will join this network. We remember the old stories of human kindness. One by one, other species agreed. Some did it because they trusted humans. Others did it because they had no choice. The Shadow Eaters were coming, whether they united or not. But not everyone agreed. Several smaller species refused to join, believing it was better to hide than to trust. They took their ships and fled toward the galaxy's edge, hoping to escape. Lieutenant Colonel Brad Johnson coordinated the defense from Mars. All human worlds report ready. The ancient weapon platforms are online and connected to the network. Kyle Thompson worked frantically on Kepler 442c, preparing the buried warship to serve as a relay point for the weapon system. Amanda, the ship's computers are calculating the energy requirements. We're going to need every thinking being in the galaxy to make this work. Above Earth, alien ships arrived by the thousands. Species that had never worked together before now flew in formation with human vessels. Fear of the Shadow Eaters had done what centuries of diplomacy could not. General Susan Parker watched the preparations from Earth's military command center. It's incredible. Former enemies are sharing their navigation codes and weapon frequencies. They trust us with information they've never shared before. The moment of truth came when the Shadow Eaters reached the middle systems. Entire planets went silent as the dark creatures consumed them. The enemy was less than a day away from Earth itself. Foster's holographic form appeared on every ship in the combined fleet. Citizens of the galaxy, the time has come. Open your Minds to the network. Share your strength with your neighbors. Trust in the bonds that connect all living things. Amanda placed her hands on the ancient control panel. Around the galaxy, millions of beings did the same on their own ships and worlds. Humans, aliens, creatures of every shape and size. All joining their thoughts into one vast network. The connection was overwhelming. Amanda felt the fear of a Corathan soldier, the determination of a Crystal Federation worker, the hope of a Serpent World mother. Every emotion, every thought, flowing through human minds and into the ancient weapon. The galaxy heart activated in the space between stars. It looked like a burning star made of crystal and metal. Energy from billions of minds flowed into it, making it brighter than any sun. The Shadow Eaters sensed the weapon charging and rushed forward to stop it. Their dark forms moved faster than light, racing to reach the populated worlds before the weapon could fire. "Now!" Foster commanded. The galaxy heart released its energy in a wave that swept across the galaxy faster than thought itself. Where the wave touched the Shadow Eaters, they screamed in voices that hurt to hear. The creatures that had consumed entire worlds were torn apart by the combined will of every thinking being in the galaxy. But this time was different from 50,000 years ago. The humans did not have to sacrifice their civilization. The burden was shared among hundreds of species. No one died, though everyone felt tired afterward. When the wave finished its work, the Shadow Eaters were gone. Not just driven back, but destroyed completely. The threat that had haunted the galaxy for 50,000 years was finally ended. In the aftermath, something unexpected happened. The mental connection between species did not fade completely. Humans could still sense the emotions of their alien neighbors. Aliens found they understood human thoughts better than before. Admiral Vextar contacted Captain Morrison directly. "Your species could have used this connection to control us all. Instead, you chose to protect us. Why?" Morrison looked out at the mixed fleet of human and alien ships. "Because that's what Guardians do. We protect others, even when it's hard. Even when people don't trust us." Admiral Foster's image appeared one last time before the ancient computers finally powered down. "My watch is ended. The galaxy is safe, and humanity has chosen the right path." Amanda Brooks watched the old admiral fade away with tears in her eyes. "We won't forget what you taught us." In the months that followed, the galaxy changed. Species that had been enemies became friends. Trade flowed freely between worlds. The mental connection left by the weapon made it almost impossible to lie to each other, so conflicts were settled quickly and fairly. The ancient human warships remained active, but their weapons pointed outward toward empty space, watching for new threats that might never come. Humanity had reclaimed their role as guardians, but this time they shared that responsibility with everyone. Captain Morrison, now promoted to Admiral of the Guardian Fleet, often looked out at the stars and smiled. The galaxy was finally at peace, not because one species ruled over others, but because all species had chosen to protect each other. The greatest victory was not military. It was proving that different people could work together when they needed to. The strongest weapon was not ancient technology, but the simple choice to trust each other and stand together against the dark. The small research ship Gentle Current floated helplessly in the dark space between two distant stars. Its smooth, pearl-white hull was cracked in several places, and thin streams of glowing blue gas leaked out into the cold void. Inside the ship, Captain Vell pressed his webbed hand against the control panel and watched the numbers on his screen drop lower and lower. "Captain," called out his navigator, Finn, from across the bridge, "life support is down to 38%. At this rate, we have maybe 6 hours left." Vell closed his large, dark eyes and tried to stay calm. His people, the Aquari, were known throughout the galaxy for being peaceful and wise. They lived on water worlds and spent their time studying science and art. They had never been in a situation like this before. The Gentle Current was supposed to be on a simple mission. They were exploring new star systems, looking for planets with peaceful plant-eating creatures that might want to join the Galactic Council. It was supposed to be safe and easy work. But 3 days ago, they had flown into a field of floating rocks that the ship's sensors had missed. The rocks had torn through their hull like sharp knives through paper. Now they were stranded millions of miles from the nearest help. with their engines dead and their communication system barely working. "Sir," said Dr. Kef, the ship's medical officer. She was tending to several crew members who had been hurt when the rocks hit their ship. "The younglings are having trouble breathing. The air is getting too thin for them." Vel looked over at the corner of the bridge where 5 young Aquari sat quietly. They were just children, brought along to learn about space exploration. Their gills were fluttering rapidly as they struggled to get enough oxygen from the failing air system. The captain felt a heavy weight in his chest. These were his people, his responsibility. There had to be something he could do. "What about the emergency beacon?" asked Finn. "Can we send a distress call?" Vel nodded and moved to the communication station. The emergency system was still working, though barely. When he activated it, the screen lit up with a map of nearby star systems. The computer began searching for any civilization that had faster-than-light travel and could reach them in time. "Scanning for rescue possibilities," the computer said in its calm, musical voice. "Please wait." The crew gathered around as the system worked. Dots of light appeared on the star map, showing different alien civilizations. Most were too far away. Others did not have ships fast enough to reach them before their air ran out. Then suddenly a new dot appeared on the map. It was close, very close compared to the others. The computer highlighted it in bright green. "Suitable rescue civilization found," the computer announced. "Planet designation, Earth. Species, human. Technology level, advanced faster than light. Capability. Estimated travel time to rescue, 18 hours. Vel frowned as he looked at the information. "Earth? I have never heard of this planet. Finn, check the Council database." Finn's fingers moved quickly over his control panel. After a moment, his face went pale. "Captain, I found it, but there is a problem." "What kind of problem?" "The planet Earth is listed in the restricted files. It says here, extreme hazard, death world classification, contact forbidden, species designated as highly dangerous." The bridge fell silent. Everyone knew what a death world was, a planet so harsh and deadly that any species that evolved there would be savage and violent. The Galactic Council had strict rules about avoiding such worlds and the dangerous creatures that came from them. "But, Captain," Dr. Kef said softly, "look at their technology rating. It says they have advanced medical systems and rescue capabilities." Vel stared at the screen. The computer estimated that these humans could reach them in 18 hours, just in time to save his crew. But if they really were dangerous deathworlders— He looked around the bridge at his dying crew. The younglings were getting weaker by the minute. Several of his officers were unconscious from lack of oxygen. They did not have 18 hours to debate this decision. "Maybe the database is wrong," Vel said, more to himself than to anyone else. "Any species advanced enough to travel between stars must be civilized. They must have learned to be peaceful, like all council members." Finn nodded hopefully. "Perhaps the classification is just old information, or maybe it is a mistake." Lai made his choice. With shaking hands, he activated the distress beacon and aimed it toward Earth. The message would travel faster than light, reaching the human homeworld in just a few minutes. He carefully composed their plea for help. Emergency transmission. To planet Earth. This is Captain Vel of the research vessel Gentle Current. We are stranded in space with critical life support failure. Our position is— He read off their coordinates. "We have 43 crew members aboard, including 5 younglings. We are scientists and explorers. We mean no harm to anyone. Please, if you can hear this message, we desperately need rescue. Time remaining, approximately 6 hours." After he sent the message, Vel sat back in his chair and waited. Around him, his crew tried to stay calm, but he could see the fear in their eyes. They were putting their lives in the hands of complete strangers from a world marked as dangerous. "How long until we get a response?" asked Dr. Kef. "If they receive our message and decide to help, we should hear back within the hour," Vel replied. "Then 18 hours for them to reach us." The waiting began. Every few minutes, someone would check the life support readings. The numbers kept dropping. 35%, 32%, 28%. Finally, after what felt like forever, the communication system crackled to life. A new voice came through the speakers, deeper and rougher than any Aquari voice, speaking in words that the ship's translator had to work hard to understand. "Attention vessel Gentle Current. This is Admiral Kane of the Terran Defense Command. We have received your distress call and are preparing an immediate rescue mission. Please transmit your detailed ship specifications and crew medical requirements. Help is on the way." The bridge erupted in relieved cheers. They were saved. But as Vel listened to the message again, certain words stuck in his mind. Terran Defense Command. Not Terran Science Institute or Terran Exploration Service. Defense Command sounded military. "Captain," Finn whispered, "did you notice what he called himself? Admiral Kane. That is a military title." Vel felt a chill run through his body. What kind of rescue ship would be commanded by a military officer? What kind of civilization put their military in charge of rescue operations? But the life support was down to 24% now, and there was no time for second thoughts. They had called for help from the Deathworlders, and now that help was coming. All they could do was wait and hope that they had not made a terrible mistake. Outside the ship, the stars continued to shine coldly in the darkness, keeping their secrets about what was racing toward them through the void. Deep inside the Terran Defense Command headquarters on Earth, alarms suddenly filled the air with their sharp, urgent sound. Admiral Kane was in his office, reviewing reports from the outer colonies, when his communication officer burst through the door. "Sir, we have an emergency transmission from unknown aliens," Lieutenant Ross said, breathing hard from running. "They're asking for rescue." Kane stood up quickly, his tall frame casting a long shadow across the room. His gray hair and weathered face showed the marks of 30 years in the military. "Aliens? Are you certain it's not a trick?" "The transmission is unlike anything we've seen before, sir. The language patterns, the technology signatures, it's definitely not human. And sir," Ross paused, looking worried, "the bioscans they sent show they're dying. Life support failure in space." Kane followed Ross to the main command center, where dozens of officers worked at glowing screens. The large wall display showed a map of nearby space, with a small blinking dot marking the location of the alien ship. "Play the message," Kane ordered. The speakers filled the room with a strange musical voice. "Emergency transmission to planet Earth. This is Captain Vel of the research vessel Gentle Current. We are stranded in space with critical life support failure." Kane listened to the entire message, his expression growing more serious with each word. When it finished, he turned to his intelligence officer, Colonel Reed. Reed was a shorter man with scars across his left cheek from a battle with space pirates 5 years earlier. "What do we know about this area of space, Colonel?" Kane asked. Reed pulled up detailed star charts on his screen. "Sir, that's the Kepler 442 region. It's been getting dangerous lately. 3 different alien species have been building military bases there. The Vorthak Empire, the Hegemony Coalition, and the Rigel Confederacy. They're all expanding toward human space. Could this be a trap?" Kane asked, studying the coordinates. "Bait to lure one of our ships into an ambush?" Reed zoomed in on the biological readings from the alien ship. "The life signs look genuine, sir. We're seeing 43 different biosignatures, and several appear to be children based on their smaller size and higher metabolic rates. If it's a fake, it's incredibly detailed." Kane was quiet for a moment, thinking. He had learned to be suspicious during his long military career. Too many good soldiers had died walking into traps. But the readings showed children dying in space, and that changed everything. "What's our closest ship to their position?" he asked. "The Iron Hammer, sir," replied Captain Torres, the fleet coordinator. She was a tough woman in her 40s who had worked her way up from enlisted ranks. It just finished patrol near the Centauri colonies. Captain Morrison commanding with a full crew of 800. Kane nodded. The Iron Hammer was perfect for this mission. It was one of Earth's newest Dreadnought-class warships, 2 kilometers long and armed with the most advanced weapons humanity had ever built. More importantly, it had excellent medical facilities and could handle rescue operations. "Get me Captain Morrison on the line," Kane ordered. The main screen flickered and showed the bridge of the Iron Hammer. Captain Morrison appeared, a calm, steady man in his 50s with graying temples. Behind him, Kane could see the efficient activity of a warship's bridge crew. "Admiral, we received the alien transmission," Morrison said without waiting for orders. "My medical team is already analyzing their biological data." "What's your assessment, Captain?" "They're not human, but they're definitely dying. Dr. Park says we can adapt our life support systems to help them. The ship appears to be a science vessel. No weapon signatures that we can detect." Kane made his decision. "Captain Morrison, you are hereby ordered to proceed immediately to the coordinates and render assistance to the alien vessel. Full rescue protocols." "Understood, sir. What are our rules of engagement if this turns out to be hostile?" "Protect yourself and your crew first, but remember, if this is genuine, we're about to make first contact with a new alien species. How we handle this could affect Earth's future relations with them." Morrison nodded seriously. "We'll be ready for anything, Admiral. Estimated travel time at maximum hyperspace speed is 18 hours. Make it 17 if you can, Captain. Those children don't have much time." As the connection ended, Kane turned to address his staff. "I want full monitoring of this situation. If the Iron Hammer runs into trouble, I want to know immediately. Also, get me a line to the President. She needs to know about this." Colonel Reed stepped forward. "Sir, shouldn't we contact the Galactic Council about this? Standard procedure for first contact situations." Kane's expression darkened. "The Council? Reed, they've been ignoring our request for membership for 20 years. 3 of their member species are building military bases in space we consider ours. As far as I'm concerned, this is between us and these, what did they call themselves? Aquari, sir. From the research vessel Gentle Current. Right. This is between us and the Aquari. The Council doesn't get a say." Meanwhile, aboard the Iron Hammer, Captain Morrison was preparing his ship for the rescue mission. The massive dreadnought came alive with activity as the crew prepared for hyperspace jump. "All hands, this is the captain." Morrison's voice echoed through the ship's corridors. "We are responding to an alien distress call. This is a rescue mission, but we're going into potentially hostile space. All departments prepare for possible combat, while maintaining readiness for humanitarian operations." In the medical bay, Dr. Park was working with his team to understand the alien biological data. "Their respiratory system is completely different from ours," he explained to his nurses. "They process oxygen through what look like gills as well as lungs. We'll need to adjust our atmospheric mix." Chief Engineer Blake was modifying the ship's life support systems. "If we need to take 43 aliens aboard, we'll have to expand our environmental controls," she told her team. "I want portable life support units ready for immediate deployment." In the Marine quarters, Sergeant Major Stone was briefing his soldiers. "We don't know what these aliens look like or how they'll react to us," he said to the assembled troops. "Remember, this is a rescue mission. We go in ready to fight, but hoping to help." As the Iron Hammer entered hyperspace, its hull glowing with the energy of faster-than-light travel, the crew settled in for the 17-hour journey. None of them knew that they were about to make contact with a species that thought of them as dangerous monsters from a death world. Admiral Kane remained in the command center, watching the ship's progress on the star map. In a few hours, humanity would either gain new friends among the stars or face a new enemy. Either way, the galaxy was about to learn that humans did not abandon those who called for help, no matter who they were or where they came from. The countdown had begun. Aboard the Gentle Current, the situation was getting worse by the hour. Captain Vell watched the life support readings drop to 15%, while his crew grew weaker and weaker. The 5 younglings were barely conscious now, their small bodies struggling to breathe the thin air. "Captain," whispered Navigator Finn, his voice so weak it was hard to hear. "The humans. How much longer?" Vell checked his timer. 2 more hours. We just have to hold on for 2 more hours." Dr. Keff was moving slowly between the injured crew members, doing what she could with their failing medical equipment. Several Aquari had already fallen unconscious. The ship felt like a tomb, quiet except for the labored breathing of the survivors. Suddenly, the ship's sensors began beeping with an urgent alarm. Vell forced himself to stand and stumbled to the navigation console. What he saw on the screen made his blood run cold. By the deep waters, he gasped. Finn, look at this. A massive object was approaching through hyperspace. Something so large that the ship's computer was having trouble calculating its exact size. The energy readings were unlike anything in the Aquari database. What is that thing? Finn asked, pulling himself up to see the display. Before Vel could answer, space itself seemed to tear open in front of them. A swirling vortex of light and energy appeared, growing larger and larger. Then, like a sea monster rising from the depths, the human ship emerged from hyperspace. The iron hammer was a nightmare made real. It was enormous, at least 40 times larger than the gentle current. Its hull was black as deep space, covered in armor plating that looked thick enough to stop asteroids. Rows of weapon emplacements jutted out from its sides like the spines of some deadly creature. Missile launchers, energy cannons, and devices that the Aquari sensors couldn't even identify covered every surface. The front of the ship was shaped like the head of a predator, with sensor arrays that looked like glowing red eyes. Along its sides, Vel could see the scars of battle, places where the armor had been damaged and repaired, telling stories of violent conflicts among the stars. This is what answered our call for help? Dr. Kef whispered in horror. This is a ship of war, not rescue. The iron hammer moved closer, and now they could see smaller details that made it even more frightening. Gun turrets tracked their movement automatically. Launch bays stood ready to release fighter craft. The entire vessel hummed with barely contained power. Then the communication system crackled to life with a deep, rough voice that sent chills through every Aquari on the bridge. Alien vessel Gentle Current, this is Admiral Kane of the Terran, Navy. We are responding to your distress call. Prepare to be boarded for rescue operations. The voice paused, and they could hear other humans talking in the background. Then the Admiral continued. Do not make any sudden movements or attempt to activate any weapon systems. We are here to help, but we will defend ourselves if necessary. Captain Noy. Vel's hands shook as he reached for the communication controls. His people had called for rescue, but they had summoned something that looked more like death itself. Still, with his crew dying around him, he had no choice. Human vessel, he said, trying to keep his voice steady. This is Captain Vel. We have no weapons. We are a science ship. We surrender ourselves to your mercy. There was a long pause from the human ship. Then the Admiral's voice returned, but it sounded confused. Surrender? Captain Vel, we're not here to conquer you. We received your distress call and came to rescue your crew. Do you need medical assistance? Vel blinked in surprise. These warriors, with their massive ship of destruction, claimed they were here to help? It seemed impossible. In all the stories he had heard about Deathworld species, they were savage creatures who fought and killed without mercy. Admiral Kane, Vel said carefully, we are dying. Our life support has failed, and we have injured crew members. But your ship, it is built for war. Another pause. Then a different voice came over the radio, calmer, more gentle. Captain Vel, this is Captain Morrison of the Iron Hammer. Yes, our ship is designed for combat, but we also carry full medical and rescue facilities. We have doctors, life support, equipment, and everything needed to save your crew. May we come aboard to help you? Dr. Kef grabbed Vel's arm. Captain, the younglings don't have much time left. Whatever these humans are, we have to trust them. Vel looked around at his dying crew and made his decision. Captain Morrison, you have permission to board our vessel. Please, help us. Understood. Preparing rescue teams now. We'll have you and your crew safe in 30 minutes. The Iron Hammer moved closer, and the Aquari could see airlocks opening along its side. Smaller craft began emerging. Sleek shuttles that looked fast and dangerous, but also equipped with medical symbols and rescue equipment. As the first human shuttle approached their ship, the crew of the Gentle Current huddled together in fear. Through the viewports, they could see figures in powered armor moving inside the shuttle. The humans looked huge and threatening, even in their rescue gear. They look like soldiers, Finn whispered. Because they are soldiers, Vel replied quietly. We called for help from a species of warriors. The docking clamps engaged with a loud clang that echoed through both ships. Then they heard the hiss of airlocks connecting and equalizing pressure. Heavy footsteps echoed in the corridor outside the bridge, footsteps that belonged to creatures much larger and heavier than any AquaRi. The bridge door slid open, and the first human stepped inside. The creature was tall, much taller than any of the AquaRi. It wore powered armor that made it look even more massive and threatening. The armor was military green with scratches and dents that showed it had been used in real battles. A helmet covered the human's face, with glowing displays and sensor equipment that gave it an alien, robotic appearance. But then something unexpected happened. The human stopped just inside the doorway and slowly reached up to remove its helmet. As the helmet came off, the AquaRi saw their first human face. It was the face of a female, with short brown hair and kind eyes. Her skin was pale, and there were small scars on her cheek that spoke of old injuries. But despite her warrior's armor and weapons,